Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to do something a little different.
Oh, yeah.
Usually we start with a story, maybe a statistic. But today I want to start with a feeling. A feeling I am willing to bet every single person listening right now knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I think I know where you're going with this.
It's that, that specific sensation. Maybe 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're at your desk. You've got email open, Slack is pinging, a news tab is probably open in the background somewhere. And you're not just tired. It's not physical exhaustion. It's this vibrating, low-level hum in the back of your skull.
Right.
Like your brain is a laptop fan spinning at 5,000 RPM, but you aren't actually moving any air. You're just hot.
That wired but fried feeling.
Yeah.
It really is the defining sensation of the modern era, isn't it?
Exactly. And the thing is, if you complain about this, everyone gives you the same diagnosis. They say you have information overload.
Whirlwind data. You're drowning in it.
Yeah, the solution is always cut back, delete the apps, go touch grass. The problem is volume.
That is the standard assumption. That we're suffering because there's simply too much stuff coming at us.
But today, we are diving into a stack of documents, a framework called Reflective Humanism, and a memo titled The Age of Information Pressure that says basically wrong.
A complete misdiagnosis.
It argues we aren't suffering from the volume of information, we are suffering from the density of recursion.
And that is a massive shift in perspective. The source material here, especially those notes on core fields and that No.33, it argues the crisis isn't how much we know. It's about recursion density.
Okay, recursion density. That sounds like something I'd hear in a server room, not in a discussion about psychology. We need to break that down immediately.
It is the key. You're right. It sounds technical. In computer science, recursion is when a function calls itself.
Right.
But in the context of these documents, it's talking about human psychology. It's the act of the mind looking back at itself. It's self-reflection, self-optimization, meta-cognition.
So thinking about thinking.
Exactly. It's the difference between, say, driving a car and analyzing how you are driving the car while you're doing it.
Okay, let me try to ground this. If I'm just doing the laundry, that's an action. It's linear. But if I'm doing the laundry while listening to a podcast about how to be more efficient with chores, and at the same time I'm wondering if my detergent choice aligns with my values, and then I'm questioning if I'm a good partner because I didn't separate the whites, is that recursion?
That's it, precisely.
Yeah.
You've just described information pressure. The source defines it not as the weight of the data, the pile of clothes, but as the constant activation of these self-monitoring processes.
So we're not just living, we're constantly analyzing how we're living.
We are stuck in a loop of continuous self-observation.
But hold on a second, I have to push back a bit. Isn't self-reflection supposed to be a good thing? I mean, Socrates, right? The unexamined life is not worth living.
It is a good thing.
We're always told that being self-aware and checking our biases, that's what makes us smart.
And that is the paradox. You've hit on the central tension in this whole framework. The text explicitly says recursion is a mark of high intelligence. It's a superpower.
But
And it's a huge but, in the text, it is not free.
everything has a cost.
Right. And the document on core fields v1.3 introduces this economic constraint. Recursion consumes cognitive resources. Think of your brain like a web browser.
Oh, I know this analogy. I live in this analogy.
You can have 100 tabs open. That's the volume. And you can handle a lot of tabs if they're just static pages.
Sure.
But if every single one of those tabs is playing a 4K video and refreshing every 10 seconds and analyzing the content of the other tabs...
A fan spins up, the mouse starts to lag.
Exactly. And the whole system crashes. Not because the hard drive is full, but because the processing power, the RAM, is being eaten up by the system just monitoring itself.
This leads to a concept in the notes that I found really compelling: spare capacity.
Yes. This is crucial. The argument in the source is that meaning, or true creativity, even just a sense of peace, it isn't formed by processing more data. It requires empty space, a buffer.
So silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's like a necessary structural component for intelligence, like white space on a page.
That's a perfect way to put it. Without the white space, you can't read the letters. When recursion becomes constant, always optimizing, always reflecting, you burn through that buffer.
You use up all your spare capacity.
All of it. And the source argues that instead of expanding our intelligence, constant recursion actually exhausts it. We lose the margin required for true understanding.
That explains so much. We become these super efficient engines revving at maximum speed but going nowhere because there's no fuel left to actually turn the wheels.
We're vibrating with analysis, but we aren't moving.
Which is a perfect segue into the social symptoms, because this isn't just happening in my head or your head. The memo, number 33, it asks what happens when a whole society gets stuck in this high recursion mode.
The paralysis of analysis.
It sounds like a nursery rhyme, but the symptoms described are, well, they're pretty disturbing.
They are. The text identifies 3 specific things. The first is decision delay. And this isn't just, procrastinating. It's taking a ridiculous amount of time to make trivial choices because we're analyzing the process of choosing.
Oh man, the optimizing dinner problem. I do this constantly. I'll spend 45 minutes scrolling reviews, checking health stats, cross-referencing my budget.
Yes.
And by the time I actually pick a place, I'm not even hungry. I'm just stressed.
Right, because you aren't choosing dinner. You're
Yeah.
auditing your decision-making framework for dinner.
Ouch. Put that way, it sounds absurd. But this scales up, doesn't it? It's not just about tacos.
It scales up to action paralysis on a societal level. We just stop moving forward because every potential step is meta-analyzed to death before we take it.
Okay, what's the third symptom?
This is the one that really caught my eye. Excessive relativization of ethics.
That one felt heavy. Can you unpack that? Because normally we think analyzing ethics makes us more ethical.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
And looking at context and biases is a very sophisticated thing to do. But the source argues that if you do that endlessly, with no stop mechanism, you kind of deconstruct the ground beneath your feet.
You see so many sides of an argument that you can't actually take a stand.
Exactly. We get so busy analyzing the context of the context that we lose our footing. We can't just say, this is the path, because we're too busy analyzing why we think it's the path.
That creates a really strange sensation. The source calls it damping of motion.
Yes.
Yes.
It distinguishes between true depth and this damping, which is just a vibration that kills momentum.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves we're thinking deeply, but really, we're just stuck.
It's stagnation masquerading as deep thought.
That's a great way of putting it.
There was another phrase in there that I circled like 3 times. Transparent pain.
Ah, yes. It
Yeah.
sounds poetic, but the definition is quite sharp. Transparent pain is described as the friction you feel when your internal OS, your logical ordered system, clashes with the messy reality of the outside world.
So my brain wants the world to be a perfect spreadsheet.
And the world insists on being a chaotic storm. That friction, that clash, manifests as real pain. The source even calls it speed pain.
Speed pain.
It's the pain of your internal processor revving too high for the road you're actually on.
Yeah.
You're trying to process reality faster than it's actually happening.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room. Or, I guess, the chatbot in the room.
AI.
We have to talk about AI. And the source takes a very specific stance on it. It doesn't see AI as just a tool. It defines AI as an externalization of recursion.
An externalization of recursion.
So, wait, are you saying we built a machine to do our overthinking for us?
In a way, yes. But think about the effect that has. The text uses the analogy of a mirror. AI acts as a mirror that puts us into a state of continuous self-observation.
How so? I usually think of AI as just giving me answers.
Well, what are you doing when you use a large language model? You're putting your thoughts into it, it structures them, cleans them up, bounces them back to you. You are essentially having a conversation with a hyperlogical version of your own output.
It helps me see what I'm thinking more clearly.
It does. But it amplifies that recursion density we talked about. Now, it's not just your brain doing the loop. You have a machine helping you loop faster, tighter, and more often.
There was a technical note in there, isomorphic alignment. What does that mean in plain English?
It's simpler than it sounds. Isomorphic just means having a similar structure. The source says human consciousness uses neural recursion, our brain's looping signals.
Okay.
And AI relies on attention recursion, the way it tracks context. Structurally, they're similar.
So we think alike, in a way.
And because the structures are similar, we align with them really easily. It feels natural to offload our thinking to the machine.
But there's a big warning label on this, right? The document talks about a critical threshold.
Yes, this is the danger zone. The source argues that when interference density, all that overlapping information and analysis exceeds a certain point, phase transitions stop happening.
Phase transitions, like water turning into steam.
Exactly that. In cognition, a phase transition is a breakthrough, an aha moment. It's when scattered facts suddenly click together into a new insight.
And the argument is that if we're too busy processing, we never get the breakthrough.
Correct. You need that spare capacity we talked about for those moments to form. If you're constantly churning, constantly in a state of high interference, the water never boils. It just stays hot and agitated.
So, excess recursion produces stagnation, not progress. We get stuck.
We get stuck in the loop.
That is slightly terrifying. It suggests that by trying to be smarter with all these tools, we're actually preventing ourselves from having any real ideas.
We're confusing activity with progress.
So what's the solution? We can't just be left here with a high-speed brain that's stuck in neutral. Do we just stop thinking?
No, and the source is very clear on this. The goal is not reduction. It's not about becoming less intelligent. The goal is regulation, or their specific term is rectification.
Regulation. Okay. How do you regulate a process that feels so automatic?
The text offers this beautiful metaphor of two modes of consciousness, the architect and the gardener.
I like a good metaphor. Lay it out for us.
So the architect is the mode we've been in, structuring, ordering, logic, optimization. It's building the skyscraper. It's absolutely necessary.
And the gardener?
The gardener is about allowing organic growth. It's about silence, waiting, life. A gardener doesn't pull on a plant to make it grow faster. They prepare the soil, they water it, and then, and this is the crucial part, they step back.
They leave it alone.
They leave it alone. They allow for that passive time where the recursion is turned off.
And the diagnosis is that we are all architects now, all the time.
We are way over-indexing on the architect mode. We try to architect our relationships, our sleep, our creativity. We need to reclaim the gardener mode.
How do we do that with AI? It seems like the ultimate architect tool.
It is, but the framework proposes a specific protocol for it. They call it health scan mode.
Health scan mode, okay.
Yeah.
Is that a setting I can toggle?
It's more of a mental setting. The idea is to change the relationship. So instead of asking AI for answers, solve this, write this for me, you use it to observe your own cognitive homeostasis, your balance.
So using AI like a biofeedback monitor for my thoughts.
Exactly. The source calls it an atmospheric presence. Use it to journal, not to get advice, but just to reflect. The AI's job isn't to fix your problem. It's to point out, hey, you seem to be looping on this one fear.
So it helps us see our blind spots without taking over the steering wheel.
Right. It's not there to drive the car. It's just there to say, you're drifting a little to the left. It helps you regulate your own recursion.
That's interesting. It's not about saving time. It's about using the tool to help me stay balanced so I can do the work properly.
Correct. And this leads to what I think is the most profound sentence in the entire stack of documents. It completely redefines what it means to be smart in this century.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Intelligence may lie not only in thinking deeply, but in knowing when to stop.
Knowing when to stop? Wow. That really hits home. It's the difference between running a marathon and just running until you collapse.
It's the recognition that the mind needs an endpoint to its analysis in order to act. Without a stop function, you don't have intelligence. You just have a runaway process.
So this whole journey started with feeling exhausted by information overload, and we've landed on recursion density. We've seen how it paralyzes us and how AI can trap us in a mirror. But if we can be gardeners, not just architects, we might find a way through.
And that shift is crucial because the source material frames this as a civilization-level choice.
Which brings us to the closing question from these papers.
It does. The question is, do we want a society that amplifies recursion endlessly? Just more analysis, more data forever? Or do we want a society that regulates it?
It seems like the obvious answer is regulate, but that temptation to amplify is so strong. We always want more speed, more answers.
It is. But the big takeaway here is that the critical turning point of our age isn't technological. It's not about better chips or smarter models. It's cognitive. It's about how we manage our own minds.
That's a powerful place to land. But before we go, there was one final concept, a triad of words that seemed almost out of place. Love, gratitude, and spiral.
Yes. The interference triad, it caught me off guard too. It sounds a bit new agey at first.
A little bit. How does that fit in with cognitive load and processing power?
Well, the source argues that love is the origin, the 0 point where connection happens. The spiral is the movement of time and growth. But gratitude is the vector.
The vector, as in a force with a direction.
Yes. Gratitude is described as the force that sustains the interference.
What does that even mean, sustains the interference?
Think about all that pressure we talked about, the noise, the friction, that transparent pain. Our instinct is to solve it or escape it. We want it to stop.
Right.
But the source suggests gratitude allows us to exist within it. It lets us keep the circuit open without burning out.
So it's not about ignoring the noise. It's about appreciating the fact that we're here, conscious, and able to hear it.
Exactly. It changes the friction from pain into traction. Instead of fighting the pressure, gratitude helps us find a way to flow with it. It acknowledges that the complexity is a sign of life, not just a system error.
That is a very different way to look at my inbox.
It certainly is.
Something to think about the next time you feel that fan spinning up in your brain. Maybe don't try to shut it down. Maybe just be grateful you have a machine that runs that fast. And then go plant a seed.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.